one, go.
Welcome into Press Box Live, this Thursday edition. As always, if it's Thursday, it's Stan the Fan meets Eric Garfield. And Eric, welcome aboard. Keep your lips sealed for just a second while I tell
No problem.
everybody before we start talking about O's minor leaguers who have made major league debuts in the past 3 days. I want to tell you about who brings you this show each time. And one of those sponsors is the new Atman's Deli at Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand rolled bagels, and something different, a bar. Atman's has food and drink specials every day now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at our bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. We're also brought to you by AJ Michaels. What company makes your home more energy efficient, kills all allergens and viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? That would be AJ Michaels. Turn to the experts, AJ Michaels, and carrier at ajmichaels.com. And of course, CostasInn.com. We are brought to you by the Costas Inn, and we'll talk a little bit about them midway through the program. But Eric and I start off. Eric, first of all, you have some good news from the Florida Complex League about how a team that was, I think, at one time 4-12, and they have been even lower than that at one time. They're on a roll, huh?
You got it right. They were the Orioles rookie league team. They were 4-12 after their first 16 games, and after an 8-game winning streak, they've evened their record at 12-12. And as the temperatures go from the high 90s into triple digits, this team is almost as hot as the weather and the field temperatures where they play. So it's hard to believe because they're not really getting major contributions from rehabbing minor leaguers. Reed Trimble is down here now. He's in the lineup. Luis Valdez was last week. He's moved up. Peter Van Loon pitched 2 innings, but most of the production and the performance is coming from the international class from the last 2 years, 17 and 18-year-old prospects. Amazing.
Real quick, we talked about this when they were just showing up to practice, the FCL team. We talked about how quickly a major league team can already make a decision at that point in time. This guy doesn't have what we thought he might have. Has there been an attrition of some position players?
I'm going to say that there has been decisions made on some minor league veterans that got a chance to rebuild their value in the FCL. And because they did not, they're either on the development list or they've already been released or exposed to waivers. So yeah, those decisions are constant, and in a good system, you kind of have to look at that roster every day. And by the way, this just gives me a second to mention their manager, their FCL manager, his name is Christian Frias. He's had a chance to manage with the Shorebirds this year. He's recognized as an educator first in the organization, and I think it's because of his demeanor and his ability as a communicator that they weathered the storm of only having 4 wins after 16 games and got to 12-12 now. So it's my chance to give credit to a guy that I know is a very, very good strategist and manager, and most other Orioles fans just don't know him yet. One day they will.
Now I know that Matt Blood, who's the kind of got a promotion, he's the director of player development, I believe. Is that his position now?
I think that's what it's called, yes.
Okay. But Matt, is he, and I know he must travel through all the minor league teams, is he down there sometimes observing his younger players?
Absolutely, yes. He hasn't checked in the stadium. I mean, it's 110 degrees, so maybe he's like in an office, but I haven't seen him in the stadium for the FCL. When I did go to get my updated roster at the complex after extended spring training, he was in the lobby, so I got to talk to him for a few minutes about personnel about his family. I heard he was very, very good at basketball, so I got some confirmation from him on that. But yeah, he's
Maybe he
in
could help
touch
you
with every.
coach your team. Maybe he could help you coach your team.
Well, he is busy with the number one system
That's
in,
right.
in,
Okay,
in
I forgot
baseball,
that.
but I'd certainly welcome his contribution as a basketball veteran.
All right. Let's move on to talk a little bit about something that we haven't really discussed. I mean, while Kowser was new this year for the most part, and Kerstad made it up, and Jackson Holiday made it up, and Kyle Stowers has been back up for a while. We had two fairly significant
Yeah,
debuts this week. We've been
absolutely.
waiting a long time for Connor Norby, where his break would come, and unfortunately, it came at the extent of
Mateo.
Cedric Mellon's putting his bat back like that. Nothing premeditated. It just accidentally hit Mateo's head, who was coming up, and Mateo on the concussion list. They brought up Connor Norby. He's got a home run. The first game, it wasn't surprising. He struck out the first couple times, but he's looked pretty good to me. Your thoughts?
I think his swing looks outstanding. Even today on the swinging strikeout he had that patented Norby balanced follow through all the way, like a jump shooter who maintains their form even through the make. That's a huge sign that he's not tinkering with what has made him Connor Norby. So I'm actually kind of surprised, and I do think upon Mateo's return, Norby's going to go back down and have to wait for his permanent turn in the minors. But I bet somebody somewhere got in touch with him and said, "Hey, you're coming up. Eventually, you're going to go back down. But why don't you do your best to change our mind, to make us think that maybe we're wrong, or maybe we're looking at you a little bit differently?" And he's got 2 hits in 2 days. I bet he's going to go on a nice little streak and never have his average below 250 or 270 or in that range. So yeah, he's looking like Connor Norby.
A lot of us fans and media, like, we watch the games, and I consider myself a media member, but a very passionate fan. And a lot of us wanted to be dismissive of Ramon Urias. Like, okay, we got the most we're getting out of him. Brandon Hyde, to his credit, has been very loyal to Ramon Urias. But again, as they start to really pinpoint what it is they're looking for in a trade partner, obviously Norby could be part of a trade, but perhaps it could be a young pitching prospect and Urias to some team for a relief pitching arm that might be able to help us now. In other words, he's increased his value, just as Norby has now a big league home run and making the plays at second base. Um, your thoughts?
I want to say that if you're an Orioles executive or a passionate fan like you and I, you have to be so satisfied with where this organization is right now. There's not a member of the major league team that is not improving their trade value. Ryan Mountcastle's having a pretty good start to the season. I imagine they want to keep him and let him hold down the corner for another maybe season and a half. But if they want to move him, he's red hot with the power stats and the metrics. You might not like his on base uh, approach, but you might like how many times he hits it over the fence per at bat. If not him, maybe someone else. You could take a couple of steps down tier wise and look at a Urias. Then you've got younger players like Norby, like Kerstad, like Kowser. So you have to think, to maintain their contender status, a deal is going to come. The good thing about the group we're talking about is it really could come from anywhere and not affect the direction that everybody else is going in. Someone wrote to me, a prospect person, the other day, proposing a trade of Jackson Holiday for more than one ace or number one type of starter. And I thought about it. They probably don't want to trade him, but I bet they do want to get more than one top tier starters in a deal. So something could come. It might look conventional. It might look crazy, but the Orioles they're going to be dealing in the next several weeks.
And it is interesting because the biggest area of concern now is the depth in the organization once you get by today's starter, Cade Povich. And we're going to talk about his performance today. I know both of us were very impressed. And just like James McCann said in the post-game interview, his performance was much better than what his numbers are going to look like, because it's going to look like 5 in the third inning, 6 earned runs. But the fourth run was 2 cheap hits that were converging, first baseman, second base, right field. One or both of them could have been caught. They weren't serious hits. The other was he made the mistake, which is his MO right now, is not enough strikes.
Yeah.
And he walked 2 batters, not directly in front of Guerrero, but he had 2 outs and he walked the guy before Guerrero came up. I go, he's going to pay for this. You don't walk 2 guys with 2 outs, or one extra guy when there's 2 outs. And he gave up the 3-run homer, and that was a lead we couldn't take back. Unfortunately, Dylan Tate didn't quite help him out enough in that 6th inning. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But the big area of concern, what I started to say before I got into Povich, was Kyle Bradish's condition now. Bradish had his worst start since coming back. And after the start, he said he felt fine. And then all of a sudden, his turn in the rotation got moved. And there actually is no definitive date. They haven't come out and said, now he's going to start Saturday. We just wanted to give him a couple days. They haven't said that. So it's leading me to be a little bit concerned.
Me
but
too.
Today's performance by Povich at least gives you, with Kramer coming back in the next probably 10 to 12 days, I'm going to assume, it gives you Burns, Rodriguez, Suarez, Povich, Irvin, and Kramer. That's still 6 guys. So I don't think it's a dire situation. So when you say they're going to want to get a starting arm, I'm still not sure that the bullpen isn't where they want to strike to get that arm.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. But if a team is saying, "Hey, you can't get our swingman, you can't get our closer, we have a starter on the table. If you want to up your return in prospect value back to us," the good thing about where the Orioles are is, you said it, it's not dire. They're open to anything. They're open to general improvement, and they have the assets to go ahead and do that. So I don't think there's only 3 teams with more wins in the entire sport, and none of them are
the Phillies, the Yankees, and
the Guardians. Guardians have one more win than the Orioles, and I think in the playoffs, I'd be happy to face the Guardians. But none of these teams are going through the process of ingratiating their top prospects, multiple at a time, into their major league roster and pattern of regular usage. So the Orioles are in a good spot, and you have to think they're going to be in a better spot before the playoffs, before your roster actually starts to matter.
Let's talk a little bit more back and forth on Povich's performance today. I inadvertently gave what I thought of his performance away a little bit. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought he really had a great deal of pitch and location success overall against a team known for swinging, making contact, and making hard contact. So a major, major victory in that regard. I don't think his curveball was spinning and ending up in the exact spot, the exact quadrant that he wanted it to. There were 2 or 3 where McCann had to hold it, and he still did not get the call. That didn't happen on the off speed, and that didn't happen on the fastball. So there's an area where he has to work. But the one thing that I've noticed in my experience with Povich is he is a fiery guy. He is a passionate guy. You're not going to see it in his sneer. You're not going to hear it in his grunt, but you're going to experience it in how much he wants it. I remember it before extended spring training this year, just in scrimmages. He struck out Kobe Mayo on a backfield and pumped his fist, and everybody was looking at him like, "Hey, man, this is the second day. We just got here. Like, none of us are even in shape. You should not be this motivated to get a strikeout against someone who is your teammate." So I watched today with the sound off just to see, is Povich going to emotionally react to anything? And he didn't. His
I
first
thought his
strikeout.
I thought his composure was what I really liked today. You know,
So right. So I guess we're both on the same page there. This is someone that's going to help a team that's already very good. It's not going to take him a while to transition into being a successful Oriole. Would it have been great for him to get a win over a division rival? Of course. But you want to see him last the innings, execute his pitches, and not get down when adversity strikes. He was 3 for 3 in that regard. So I'm going to say great start for Povich. Hopefully the organization will find a way to keep him up and utilize him more. I'd like to see where he can go with his innings.
well, I don't know if you watched the post game. Steve Molesky said so. If his turn came around and he go, oh, I would definitely
I did see
have
that.
him pitch again. So I think he'll get at least one more turn
Good.
in the rotation. That's my opinion. Um, and when Kramer comes back, I'm not saying he deserves to be given the job, but if he pitches as well the next time around, I would think that the thing to do would be still Suarez to the bullpen, or perhaps they'll go to this modified 6-man during this one stretch this month where they have no off days again until June the 17th.
17th.
And then none the rest of the month.
I just to offer my opinion,
Yeah.
because of who they'd have to use as the bullpen piece, I would go with 6. I would lay it out for the 6 and try to have like the minor leaguers do it. Try to have a plan of who's going to come in, who's going to piggyback off those 6, and see how well we can hold to that plan. The Orioles are doing well. They score plenty. The pitching does not get blown up regularly. So I think if they lay it out that way, they'd be able to keep to it too.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that works out. But again, Eric and I both impressed with Cade Povich, and
Oh yeah,
not just touting a party line. The numbers were the performance was better than the numbers show. And again, I just liked his pace too. He got the ball. There
yep.
wasn't a lot of farting around, so to speak. He just got the ball, and you know,
Another way to measure it is what caliber of hitters did what against him. And yeah, Vlad Guerrero took him for 390 feet opposite for a line drive home run. But George Springer did not have a good swing against him all game. He whiffed and looked horrible. And the 2 times he made contact, he bounced it, kind of holding his bat off an off-speed pitch right to Povich, who disposed of him quickly. So there's a lot of ways to measure a performance. I like to look at what did a guy do against what caliber of hitters. So he's already at the level where we can trust him to get Springer out more than once a game.
He also had 3-1-3 plays, which means that they were fooled by something.
Yep.
And one of the things you had to like about him,
good point,
is there a variety, his arsenal. It's not like 3 pitches. He's got 4 or 5 pitches.
5, right.
5, yeah. Kudos to him. Orioles now losing today. They lost last night. They lost 2 one-run games to end the series in Toronto after blowing out the Blue Jays the first 2 games. The Yankees continue to red hot, and they will most likely beat the Twins tonight again. And will have, I believe, Eric, a 4.5 game lead if they win tonight. But that's not really that important at this point of the season. One other player I wanted to talk about before we take the break is Jackson Holliday. I heard the other day at lunch, my cousin Ron Matz, said he's hit 400 the last 7 or 10 days or something like that. I did look. He's up to 287. When the last time I looked, he was at 275. So is he hot? Has he settled in now, gotten over being a little angry at himself, and got his head straight, and he's starting to work again?
Absolutely, yes. And it is only a matter of time until the discussions start for his call up once again. He's too good at baseball, too mature of a person, and too experienced of an athlete to ever slump for a long time. And like we talked about, his slumps are not 220 or not
Right. His
180.
slumps are 275.
They're 260, right? So he's utilizing his skill set to find success again. He's swinging at the right pitches, impacting them the right way, which he kind of always has been doing, and he's using his strike zone knowledge to walk and get on base, and that's the foundation for his return to success. So, he is a worthy number one overall pick, a worthy number one overall prospect, and will be having major league success very, very soon. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be more next year than this year, but he's the kind of athlete that definitely proves people like me wrong all the time.
All right. I don't want to get into a long discussion about this, but one day we can. I still think there's an outside chance when I look at the Orioles' level of talent at all the different positions, and I go, where would he benefit the team the most if he's offensively performing well? I remember a conversation I had 2 years ago with Omar Minaya, who used to be the general manager of the New York Mets. He's back with the Mets in some front office capacity. But we were talking about how he had scouted Holiday because the Mets had the ninth pick that year, and thought, remember, Mike Elias said he was like 15 to 20
Yep.
going into his senior year. He
Yep.
moved up all the way to number one. So the Mets were really honestly scouting him with the idea maybe he could fall to nine. And then, as of course, she said midway through the season, we knew we were out of it. I said, do you think he could, if things work out the way I'm envisioning, could he play center field? And he said, absolutely.
Right. Right.
So
He,
you
he,
look
he
at Gunnar Henderson ain't going anywhere.
no.
Westberg's going to be either the second baseman or the third baseman. Mayo's got to play somewhere. Norby, if you don't trade him, has got to play somewhere. The guys that are vulnerable to me are the veteran outfielders, Hayes, Mullins, and Santander, both because of cost and because there's more talent coming up. So I look at where the dam could break and I say, boy, maybe it's the outfield.
I have video from him at Twin Lakes and
Yeah,
at Ed Smith Stadium taking fly balls, and he doesn't look as natural as he
right.
does at shortstop, but he certainly knows how to stride and get under a fly ball. Out of all the prospects we have, from what I've seen, I'm kind of partial to Cowser. I really like how he holds his head up the
Yep.
whole way tracking. I think it would take some work to get Jackson there, but up the middle skills are up the middle skills. You
Yeah.
need to watch the ball on a line or in the air, and he's
How would
got that
his
down very, very well.
how would his arm play as a center fielder? Would it be it would be better than Mullins, correct?
I'm gonna say yes, but not. I don't have enough
Okay.
evidence,
All
but
right.
yeah, I'm good with making that claim.
All right. All right. We're going to take a time out now, and then we'll come back with a couple updates on a couple players. I want to ask you about Kobe Mayo and Kerstad and how they're doing. But back with Eric Garfield after I tell you about the Costas Inn. The Costas Inn, located at 4100 North Point Boulevard. They've been around at that location for over 50 years. They have great nightly specials every weeknight from Monday to Friday. Great nightly specials that aren't too hard on your wallet. And of course, then again, everybody knows the Costas Inn is known for their crabs, the steamed crabs, and the steamed crabs are there every night, all year round. The price point for crabs is escalating, but you're not going to get them cheaper anywhere else, and they're always of a good quality, good size. But you got to take the phone number down 410 410 477 1975. My age just slipped in there. 410 477 1975. Call them up, get the price point, find out the availability, and make sure they got the size that you want. Okay. to make your crab feast a swimming success. NBA playoffs are starting tonight, the finals. You can watch them down there. You can watch Oriole games down there or whatever else is on the tube sports wise, Stanley Cup stuff. Great place to Costas in. All right, back with our remaining time with Eric Garfield of Florida Prospects Report and PressBoxOnline.com. Eric, Kobe Mayo, any update on him and how he's coming along from his cracked rib?
The Orioles are playing it very slow with Kobe. He's in Sarasota right now. He's been taking swings on real pitching from the pitching machine in the cage. We're recording this on Thursday. I believe it's the 6th. Saturday the 8th, he'll be outside on the field. There's an FCL game. It's actually not in Sarasota. It's in Bradenton, so he won't be playing in that. But that'll be the first time on the field in uniform and cleats. They'll probably have a pitcher stay back to throw to him. So he's making progress in a positive direction, slightly slower than I anticipated, but he should be back. Maybe the end of this week, a week from today, will be when he departs Sarasota to rejoin the Tides to start their series that I imagine it would begin around June 17th.
Okay. And Kerstad, we discussed a little bit about Jackson Holiday. And again, I'm not calling it pouting or anything. I think Jackson's own worst enemy there was his anger at himself.
Yep.
And it caused a lack of focus for a couple of weeks. But Kerstad, he doesn't have the luxury of being 20 right now. And he knows that the clock, while it's not ticking desperately that he only has 6 months to make it or he's going to fail, he knows it wouldn't be beneficial to him at all to have gone back to Norfolk. He's hit the ground running there, hasn't he?
Yes, he absolutely has. In some ways, some measures, you could say he's been one of the best offensive players in the entire minor leagues. I think he batted 320 with 10 homers in April, everything combined. Then in May, he batted 290 with a handful of home runs. Nobody has a better perspective on what you just said than Kerstad. Nobody knows this. Kerstad has an older brother that never made it out of the minor leagues, had to play in the minor leagues for about a decade and did not make it, didn't break through.
I did not know that. Yeah.
He has a brother named Dexter. He was in the Royals system for a long time. So I promise he does not want to get sent down, and he knows exactly what it means. And he knows exactly what it could mean. So yeah, he's on his horse trying to get better, but he's doing it. He's a cleanup hitter every single night for the Tides. He's driving in and producing runs. And if he has to improve his trade value to get elsewhere, I'd kind of be surprised if that happens. But he's doing that too. Kerstad is one of the better offensive players in the entire minor leagues, like he should be.
All right. Any other pitchers down there at AAA doing well enough to be in the mix? Is McDermott close to being in the mix? I keep looking at the whip is like close to 1.6. Doesn't sound like he's pushed the envelope close to being ready.
I would agree. He's not breaking through. He's not doing bad. He's not stagnating, but he's also not dominating 3-ball counts with the stuff that would deserve a call up right now. Some of those 3-ball counts are ending up in 4-ball counts. Stan, I do not want to sound like a smartass. The pitcher I would choose to make a difference is Nick Vespi, the one that they keep sending down. So what we talked about the plan to have a specific bullpen alignment, he would be a big part of that for me, especially as the lefties. But other than that, right now, I'm going to say for the time being, no.
You know, it's a game that major league teams play now where the most valuable pitcher sometime is the guy who's optionable so they can bring a fresh arm in. You know, that's life in 2024 for relief pitchers. If you have an option or more left and you have value, Yeah, they want to yo-yo you back up and forth, and that's why I think they weren't there some changes in the last basic agreement. How many times you can send somebody up and back? I think there were.
I want to say it went from around 8 to around 3
Right,
per baseball season.
right.
But still, I do not, I don't want to say I don't respect it. I don't enjoy that aspect of
No,
roster
I don't. I
management.
don't either. I don't either. But I mentioned to Luke today that Dylan Tate for me, and a week ago when I first saw him come back 9 days ago, and he blew me away with how dominant his stuff was, to the point that I asked Brandon Hyde, how valuable can he be to this bullpen? And since that game, he has taken a step back. And I thought his not retiring Ernie Clement, the number 9 hitter with 2 outs, was. I said to Luke, I said, I just as soon have Bauman now. I don't have that much trust in Tate. And he goes, well, the thing that you like about Tate is he's optionable. And I have to say, in this day and age, that is something. All right. That's going
He's also
to,
been equally inconsistent.
yeah, he has been inconsistent. But Michael Bauman's pitching well for Seattle. I don't think he's allowed a run in about 5 or 6 appearances. I could
He
be
is
wrong.
not.
All right. That's going to do it for today's show. Next week, we're taking off. I have to be out of town for a wedding. All right. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Look forward to it. I bet it's
All
going
right.
to be pretty hot down here in Florida.
All right, buddy. How's Scooter doing?
Much better. Much better.
All
He's
right.
lying down right on my feet right now.
Who diagnosed that tooth? Who
Dr.
diagnosed that?
Stan,
Dr. Stan. All right, buddy. It's good talking to you as always, Eric Garfield. And we will be back with Ross and Luke on Monday. And that does it for me and Eric today. Again, our thanks to AJ Michaels and the folks at Carrier. Let the experts help you along the way with heating and air conditioning. The new Atman's Deli at Harbor Point. Great place, great place. And also the Costas Inn. They bring these Zooms to you all the time. For Eric Garfield, I'm Stan the Fan.